welcome to the Tory Burch Foundation webinar on how to turn your customers into a community. I'm Gabrielle Raymond McGee, the Chief Operating Officer of the Tory Burch Foundation, and today I'm so thrilled to be here with Anna Flores. Anna is the brilliant founder and CEO of We All Grow Latina. If you don't know this incredible network, you should. It is truly the first network of Latina digital influencers. Become a member if you're not already. They have everything from master classes for entrepreneurs, an annual summit, and incredible resources and tools for women. And Anna's mission is really so beautiful. It's to elevate the voices and stories of Latinas through the power of community. So we're in very good hands today. She's the ultimate connector and builder. And I'm so thrilled to have Anna here to discuss how you can use these strategies to build your own community. And Anna's first going to walk us through the why. Why is this even important for your business? So Anna, welcome.
Thank you so much, Gabrielle. I'm really excited to be here and to the Tory Burch Foundation for creating these meaningful spaces that are so needed and pivoting with the times to continue creating this for us. So thank you so much.
Well, it's our true honor. I was saying before, I can't believe it's our 19th webinar since COVID, and we will certainly be continuing this series in 2021. So we hope that you all stay with us in the new year. But Anna, we have so much to talk through about community today. And thank you for being here at the end of the year, for being so generous with your brilliance. We know you're going to share your slides via email later today that we'll be sending out. So everyone can relax a little bit, take notes, but know that we'll have slides later today. And at the end of Anna's presentation, we're going to take time to answer your questions on more of the strategy side of communities. So please type in your questions in the Q&A box below. I will monitor that. We're going to do our best to get to as many questions as possible. And Anna, over to you.
Let's do this. Let's do this. Well, I'm pulling up, this is always a fun part, right? Let's pull up the slides here we go. So I actually want to also just start by thanking each and every one of you for being here today. I know it's a choice, and I know we have a lot of choices, right, of what to do with our time and where to invest our time and our resources. So it means a lot, and I want to honor all of you for taking the time and investing in yourself today. So I promise to do my best to make sure that this is that you are inspired, but that you also feel that you learned a lot and that you can put it into action. So I tweaked for my own, and I tend to do this a lot. While it is the same topic, I'm introducing it as building an intentional community. I have identified 7 core pillars to build successful brand communities that create value and profitable growth, and that will turn your community into customers. And I really want to dig deep today. Let me see where I am with this. That doesn't, okay. Dig deep into, as Gabrielle was saying, into the why, right? The how we can find, it's easy to Google, it's easy to find the technical aspects of strategy, and we will be answering all of those questions, and I'll try to make sure that we will have enough time to go into that. But I need to start off with a disclaimer. I am not your traditional businesswoman. I am very much an intuitive and soul-led leader. And in this class, I will represent that. My intent today is for you to connect with your deepest purpose, to envision an intentional community from the ground up that is built around these 7 core pillars I have identified, plus the ones that you will identify on your journey. And this class is not about the technical how-tos, this part of it. It's about the why. We will have a Q&A session where I can dig into the hows, but first I want to take you on a journey to build the most solid foundation for your community, where its greatness is measured by the compassionate action of its members, which is actually a reflection of you and your brand. And that's why I love this quote from Coretta Scott King. You're welcome to snapshots, to share them, screen share, etc. You will also have access to this, but you can go ahead and start sharing if you like. So who am I? Ana Flores. Beyond the the introduction that Gabrielle facilitated, I want to dig a little bit more into my identities, right? I think it's really important to always start honoring that. My pronouns are she, her, ella if you speak Spanish. I'm a bilingual, bicultural Latina. I'm a gringa salvadoreña. What the heck does that mean? That means that I was born in Houston, Texas, to parents from El Salvador. And I grew up in El Salvador, until I was 18. But always between my upbringing, I was navigating between both countries, both cultures, both languages. And that really is really informs everything I do till this date. And by the time I came back to the States until now, I'm 48 years old now, I have always continued building bridges between what is Latin America and the US, and lived within Mexico and US and LA. I'm a mom to a 13-year-old, very creative and very passionate girl. I'm a single mom. I'm a creative entrepreneur. And like I started out saying at the beginning, I'm not your traditional entrepreneur. I'm an intuitive leader, and I am a community builder, and I am a community builder and a bridge at heart. We All Grow Latina. This is a company that I founded 10 years ago. We All Grow Latina started out as Latina Bloggers Connect. And I was a mom blogger back then, a Latina mom blogger. There were very few Latina mom bloggers in 2010. And this is a time before Instagram, if we can remember that. Things were very different. But for me, at the heart of what I was creating, it was this vision of the democratization of media, where our stories could be told in a space where there was no ceilings, really nobody dictating what type of stories could be told, especially for communities like ours that have been traditionally and still are underrepresented. So bloggers created that. Bloggers could bring that to the space. What was important when I created the very first Latina blogger network, connecting Latina bloggers with brands, which now we know as influencer marketing, was that at the heart of it, I was creating a community. I wanted to make sure that as I grew as a blogger and I unlocked the secret to monetization and longevity with that, that I could do the same for other Latina bloggers. So We All Grow has pivoted and grown since then to be much more than that. We are about connecting the Latina experience 10 years later, but We All Grow nurtures safe spaces for Latinas to connect and grow our social and economic power. We provide brands with the opportunity to align themselves with our values and show up authentically for the community. Our focus is and always will be unapologetically community first. So what does that look like for us right now? A year ago, we launched our Mighty Networks platform, which is our online digital community. We are 10,000 members strong. It is completely organic growth. We don't pay for members. We don't pay for advertising. This is all word of mouth and grassroots in a year. We All Grow exists as a hashtag and on social media, where really the heart of our community on social media has happened on Instagram. We have close to 150,000 followers. For being on Instagram since 2012, it probably doesn't sound like a lot, but we're very proud of it because, again, it's been completely organic, and we really don't have trolls because our engagement, and that's one of the things we'll be talking about throughout the next 20 minutes, our engagement is always very vision and mission led, and we care more about the followers that are there, not to follow a meme, but to actually engage with content that informs, inspires, and connect. And then the heart of the community would always come together once a year via the We All Grow Summit. This year it was going to happen in May. We had to cancel it. And of course, it was our biggest and best year ever, right? For many of us, this was the year. But you know what? As so many of our members told us, the spirit of We All Grow continues. The spirit of Grow cannot be canceled. We All Grow Summit was where we would come together since 2015 every year. Started out as a blogger conference, evolved to be much more than that. Would sell out every year, and thankfully Ford's named us as one of the 19 conferences every creative should attend for 2 years in a row. So let's start out with what is community. I love to dissect words, right, and find what are the traditional definitions of things, so then we can deconstruct that. So per the Oxford Dictionary, a community, among many definitions, is a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals, or a similarity of identity. For me, how do I define community? Sorry, checking here my slides. How do I define community? I define community as an intentional space where people show up with a shared purpose to connect and co-create a collective vision to move us forward. It's a mouthful. There's a lot in there, but this is actually what we're going to be deconstructing via the 7 pillars that I am so happy to be sharing with you today. So why build a community? Because belonging and connection are essential human needs. I said we were going to be talking about the why, right? We want to, and at the end of the day, again, like people have choices. We want to connect with people's souls. We want to connect with their human needs, with the essential things that they're looking for when they choose to be part of your community. And that is going to translate to the trust, and we'll dig deeper into that, into the trust that they have in you as a brand, as a leader, as a person who provides a service. That is what they're looking for to connect. We build community because it builds human relationships and connections. People are looking for belonging and connection. Your brand, your company, your organization can give people a space to feel seen and to be heard by you. This is community conscious brand building, where you allow the brand to evolve with the community, where you put the community first. So as the host and co-creator of the community, you want to be intentional with the why you build your community from day one. And it's okay if this is not your day one, right? You're already in the process, or you're already deep into the community building. I just want to make sure that what we're talking about resonates with you, and that at any point can be your day one. At any point, we can reinvent ourselves. At any point, we can shift and pivot, as we have hopefully learned this year. So starting with your why, we'll dig deeper into what I define as the 7 core pillars of an intentional community. But first, what is an intentional community? An intentional community satisfies your members' needs for belonging and connection first with a capital. It gives your customers' audience a space to feel seen and heard by your brand. And why is this important? Especially as we're talking right now about underrepresented communities, and how we're going to make sure that we are intentional in how we are inclusive, and that we can speak to every person as in their whole self and all the identities that they intersect. We want to make sure that we're creating spaces where they feel seen and heard. If they feel seen and heard by the brand and by themselves, they're going to create an immediate connection, which will translate into action. An intentional community organically gives members a sense of connection with the brand's ethos and purpose, but also with others, and hopefully with themselves, right? So let's dig into what these 7 core pillars are. First, I'm just going to list them out, and then we're going to go one by one. The first one is purpose. Sorry, here we go. First one is purpose. Second one is patience. Third, deep listening, trust, engagement, connection, and alignment. So I'll leave that up for a second in case it's something you want to take a snap of. So purpose. Every community starts with a deep purpose and will be continuously driven by it. Your purpose is ultimately your brand's ethos and the human need you fulfill. The intent behind building the community needs to be transparent and authentic, and it starts with having a clearly defined purpose that's built around your brand's ethos and impact. Knowing your why and giving them a reason to choose you is very important. So I'm going to ask you to ask yourself these questions, and go ahead and snap this. And later on, when you have some time, go back to these questions and try to be as honest as possible with your answers, because these are the questions that are going to help you dig deep and identify what is the real purpose. What is your purpose? Because you are your brand. I know that most of us here are small business or solopreneurs, which means that everything that we do, everything that happens to us affects our brand. So if everything that happens to us translates and affects our brands, that means that the more we take care of ourselves and the more that we understand where we are functioning from and creating from each day, the more that is going to translate into how the brand is represented out in the world. So ask yourself, what is the human need my brand fulfills? Why do people want to connect with me, with my brand? Why do they choose? Why did you choose to be here today? What has Tory Burch Foundation given you? Obviously a lot. They've given you resources for free. They've given you connections. They've given you inspiration. So you trust that if you're going to show up to one of their webinars, they have done their job to bring in the speakers that are going and the topics that matter to you. Ask yourself, how do I want people to feel? And again, we go back to that, and I feel that it's not talked enough in traditional business sense. Like, how do we make people feel? A brand represents, and marketing, we know, is about how we make people feel. It's the same thing with the community. How do we want people to feel when they show up, whether it is in person, whenever we can continue doing that more, whether it is online, whether it is just to your Instagram post? How do you want to make them feel? So once you answer those questions, and you can maybe identify more of a clear purpose behind the reason why you want to build a community, because let's be honest, and that's one of the pillars. Building the community is tough. More than, our two most precious resources are money and time. And I'm going to say that for a community, the most precious resource is going to be your time more than money. You can build communities for free with Instagram, with Facebook, etc. But time is a very precious commodity, especially for moms and solopreneurs, and if you're partners and etc. It is hard. So the purpose is really important, and it's going to drive your community mantra. So I want to just invite you to, once you have identified that purpose, if you can create a community mantra. And what do I mean by this? So a mantra, you can think about of it as a slogan. It really is a slogan in a way, but it goes beyond that, because it really gives your customers, your community, something, a flag, right? Something that they can put on a t-shirt, something that immediately identifies them to you, and that they can clearly understand how it is that we feel together, or what is our purpose together. So our mantra is, when one grows, we all grow. It is short, it is sweet, it is repeatable, it is shareable, and it is something that it is a phrase that we have had since day one for 10 years. So when I launched the blog post that launched, when I wrote the blog post that launched Latina Bloggers Connect 10 years ago, I ended it with a phrase that said, because when one grows, we all grow. And again, my intention was that if I was learning, I was going to open up the doors for the rest of my friends, Latina bloggers around me, to also learn and grow at the same time. And also that if I was going to do the work of working with the brands to bring in more campaigns for us, then I wanted to make sure that we were all doing the work to be as professional as possible, so that we could deliver what the brands were looking for, right? So at the mantra, because the mantra comes from a deep purpose, it has evolved with the community. No matter if we're not doing influencer marketing as we did before, no matter, if we're now doing online events, whatever it is that we've had to pivot during the last 10 years. Again, we're not just about bloggers, we are about entrepreneurs, professional women, activists, artists, etc. They can all still identify with this mantra, when one grows, we all grow. And it is so meaningful that 6 years ago, we rebranded as a company as We All Grow, so that people immediately know how they connect with us, why they connect with us. Our second pillar is patience. And communities take time, as I was saying before. They take a lot of time to build, and I don't want anyone to think that community building is going to be easy, because it's not. Because it's not only building it, it's nurturing it. If you plant a garden, if you plant a forest, you know what I'm talking about. It is planting the seeds in fertile grounds that you will have to constantly be nurturing and adapting to changing conditions. So why is patience one of the pillars? Because you have to, if you know from the beginning that it's not going to be easy, that it's not going to be a one size fits all kind of solution, plug and play, then you are starting from the beginning with this strong foundation, the strong pillar of knowing that this is a long-term game and that you are going to plant in fertile ground. The fertile ground is the purpose of your community and how clear you are with the why you're bringing people together. Once people join or engage, you want to have a clear strategy that puts them first and keeps them wanting to visit frequently. Just like any true relationship, it takes time to build trust. And let me see. Don't fall into the trap of purchasing followers or members just to grow your base. And I can't stress this one enough. Obviously, coming from the influencer world and being the leaders in that space and within Hispanics, we have seen this a lot, especially with influencers, but that's not only where it happens, right? In media, it happens a lot. Do not fall into the trap of buying or following or buying or purchasing followers, metrics, etc. Because at the end of the day, what you are looking for is a sustainable community that believes and trusts in you so much that they will be the ones anchoring that foundation, and they will be the ones helping you grow and co-create together. You want people to feel motivated to join because they understand your purpose and are drawn to it. Easy followers just don't provide value to the community, period. Number 3. So I also want to say that all of these pillars, the 7 pillars, are not linear. Nothing in life is linear. These are not linear. These are circular. They're more like a spiral. They all interact with each other. They are built out in a sense of in an order of definitely you want to start with your purpose, but you can always go back to your purpose. The more you listen, the more you will understand where your community is at different stages of the life cycle of your business. Because if anything, we have found in the last 10 years, I mean, what mattered to Latinas has changed a lot. I mean, at the end of the day, the deep needs are always the same, but 4 years ago, 4 years ago, things really changed when the political arena changed and we were basically under attack. Right. So we kept listening to what it was that our community needed. An effective brand community co-creates with their members. Co-creation is key. And you cannot co-create if you're not listening. The brand, again, the brand is not the community. You are not the community. Your members are. Listen to the community and allow it to evolve. Your brand will evolve along with it. What that meant to us was when we started seeing that our community members were much more outspoken, and many of the influencers were like, I have all these followers. Does it matter that I'm talking to them about lipstick when there are children in cages at the border, right? Those are deep topics, but that's something that we had to listen to and understand that we needed to provide many more resources via our summit and via our online content, et cetera, that spoke to the issues that really mattered to our community. And we continue to evolve and pivot, listening to where they were at every stage of the game, and continue to do so. So ask your community. Go ahead and ask them via Twitter today. Put it on a post, put it on an Instagram post. Ask them, what can I do for you and to grow with you? Maybe just ask them, what can I do for you? And listen to the questions. You'll be surprised. I end all of my live interviews and my interviews with that question. What can we do for you? And it's crazy, about 99% of the time, the person, which are usually celebrities, leaders, entrepreneurs, etc., the person is pleasantly surprised because they're rarely asked that. How often are you asked that? How can you create a space where people always feel that someone, and that someone is you, can do something for them? Trust me, they will never forget you if you do. And that's how you develop trust, which is my 4th pillar. So trust. The more people feel seen and heard, the more they can trust your brand. Trust isn't given, it's earned. And that's why it takes time. And that's why you need patience, right? So how to build trust? Create a welcoming environment that's inclusive to all. Nurture personal connections. Lead by example. You set the tone. The tone, the content, and the overall energy of the community starts with you. How are you showing up to the table? How are you leading by example? And by you, I mean your brand. And then give more than you get. If you've ever heard me talk, I usually always say this, especially, you know, when this is like the top #1 social media tip, etc. It's the same with community. Give more than you get. The give can look like so many things. It can look like these free webinars. It can look like the content that you put out. It can look like inspiration. It can look like connections. It can look like networking. I mean, there's so many ways that you can give, referrals, etc., that you can give to your community. Engagement. How will people engage, and why will they choose to come back? Community engagement starts with developing a deep understanding of who your members are and what their emotional and intellectual needs are. As you see, there's a common thread, and that's why all of these pillars interact with each other. You want to give members the tools, the motivation, and the power to bring others into the brand story and to spread that love and help you grow. That can be meaningful content. It can be events, online, offline. It can be exclusive promotions. It can be ambassador opportunities, and so much more. And we can dig into that. You want to give your members, again, meaningful content. You want to give them motivation, and you want to help them unleash their power. And when I talk about power, you will not frequently hear me say empower people. I feel that the word empowered comes from a place of lack, because we all have power within us. And I also feel that it comes from a top-down perspective, from an old power perspective, where it's very much the colonizer mind, where we are giving you something that you lack. We all have power within us. You can help people see that power. You can help people believe in that power. You can help people unleash that power. And you can do that through so many ways, through all the tools and the motivation and the content that we've been talking about, and connections, which is our 6th pillar. People want to be emotionally invested, not only to you, but to each other. You can be that bridge that creates an emotional connection to your brand and to each other. If you are that bridge, you will always be top of mind, because it's thanks to you that and the bridge doesn't have to be physical only. It can be a bridge to, again, their own emotions. It could be a bridge to an aha moment they had. And I just thought of like Oprah and her aha moments, right? Like, why was Oprah and why is Oprah still so magical? Because she allows us to connect with ourselves. She allows us to see ourselves in different ways, right? So a connection can be physical, a connection can be emotional, a connection can be spiritual. It all depends on what it is that you are serving. And our last pillar is alignment. Alignment to a common vision, to values, and to each other. Nurture psychological kinship by aligning your brand's values with the community to co-create and build authentic connections that result in actions. And those actions will look different. Those actions might be a session with you, might be buying your product, might be giving you more likes and engagement to your post, might be more sharing, might be acting as an ambassador all on their own, right? How can you align your vision, your mission, and purpose with your community values and be as transparent and as authentic as possible in every way, and how you put that out so that people understand it, clearly understand how they are aligning their own values with yours. And that is what we have today. And I am very excited and happy to see some questions already, and we can dig into that. I'll stop sharing. Do I stop sharing?
You can leave that up, Anna. Actually, stop sharing. So
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there you go.
Okay, you can stop sharing.
Okay.
Thank you. Anna, this was great. we all learned so much. I took a number of notes here. So the why is clear, right? Community creates purpose. It gives your customers value, motivation, and a true connection to you. And I think when we think about this pandemic, right, if we've learned anything, it's that we're relational beings and community is a precious gift. So thank you for walking us through the why. A few important high-level notes. So community takes patience to plant. I love that. Deep listening. What can I do for you? That's such a great tip. Trust is earned. Give more than you get. Engagement, connection, alignment. So these are all wonderful, wonderful tips for us. And I know we have a number of questions for you. So let's dive right in. So Melissa Bell is asking specifically about slogans. So when you provided your slogan, she felt that that was unique, identifiable, very clear. Melissa Bell's mantra is because menopause doesn't have to suck, which I love.
I love it.
And then Amanda is asking if a slogan is the same thing as a hashtag, or do you need your slogan to be truly identifiable and unique to you or to your community?
Those are great questions. It's a great question. Actually, I'm seeing that Melissa Bell lived in El Salvador too. Yeah. Love that connection. Okay.
And she knew you're one of your first businesses too. I saw that. Baby bilingual.
Spanglish baby for parents raising bilingual and bicultural kids was actually the first community I created. And that was what informed and what led to Latina Bloggers Connect, which is now We All Grow. So the question about the hashtag and the slogan. So you know what, it doesn't have to, but it really depends on what business you're in. It will make a difference. Why? As we plan out campaigns, we are driven by brands and we are driven by brand revenue. So I'm constantly creating proposals, right? And every time we're thinking of a proposal for our brand, we're thinking about what the big idea is. And every time the big idea is pretty much a slogan, right? And we think of it always as a hashtag, because what we want is for the hashtag to be where the conversation is happening. So if a hashtag is easy to remember, actually the hashtag has the same properties as a slogan, right? You want a slogan, you want a hashtag that are easy to remember, that are relatable, and that is unique enough that people can directly identify it back to your brand. So when we're thinking of campaigns, we're always, we go to Instagram and we put in the hashtag and we're like, okay, it hasn't been used, right? So that way, once we start creating content, people can easily go to that hashtag and it's not going to be lost. Everything they see there will be the content that is being created for that. So that translates also to your service and to your business because you want to lead the way. So if you go to hashtag We All Grow, and that's why intentionally our business name is hashtag We All Grow, it is the brand name, because we want people to always feel like they can use it. And once you use it, you go through those posts and you will always kind of feel the same ethos and that purpose and that value coming through people using it organically.
Great. So I know we certainly covered the why. Let's delve into the how a bit more. So many of the entrepreneurs in our community are solo entrepreneurs. Many of them have just launched their business over the last year, over the last few years. So what would you recommend if you're just beginning your business from scratch? How do you start to build your community? What steps should you take?
No, I want to say probably the easiest, most effective way right now to start a community where you can start listening and testing out your content would be Instagram. Mm-hmm. Instagram is, because of the hashtags, because of the many ways that they're creating engagement right now, is definitely the best way where you can test content, right? Put out content. You can test quotes, you can test more artistic pictures, you can just test live interviews. There's so many things that you can test there to see what is resonating with your community so that you can start listening to where it is that your customers, your audience, where it is that they navigate through what you are able to offer. Because that's another thing. You don't want to offer something that you are not. Mm-hmm. You don't want to offer something that doesn't feel authentic to you, because again, we're talking about the long term, and trust me, you will get tired of not being yourself. through your content. And it translates in a different way when people understand who is the person behind it and that they're leading from an authentic place. So I would definitely, I would definitely say start on Instagram. You can also explore Facebook groups, but they require more maintenance than an Instagram account at the beginning might, because you have to dig really deep, really soon into the management of the community and the engagement of the community, and how you're going to continue, how you're going to be moderating the interactions between them, and et cetera. So I definitely would say Instagram would be the place to start.
So Instagram is essentially your test lab, right? For you to test different forms of content. Let's layer in the product piece though. So how do you promote your products to people who don't know you, who don't know your business, via Instagram or any other format that you'd recommend when you're just starting out?
Well, that's always the question, right? We have to, I want to say, definitely, I've always had a service business, right? So I am not the ultimate expert on product, but based off of the experience that we do have, I want to say that again, you want to, okay, let me reframe this. When you have a product, you definitely need to identify who your ideal customer is, right? So once you've identified and you've done the really deep work at identifying who that unique customer is with all of their identities, with all of their intersectionalities, et cetera, you can start creating content that speaks directly to that person, and then start building that person out more. Content that sells your product, right? That builds out that person, and then maybe find who one of those people is, right, in real life, and try to create direct partnerships with them, because ultimately what you want is to reach their audience and their community, which goes back to what influencer marketing is, right? But authentic influencer marketing is really developing a connection with that person to be able to then also together reach their audience, right? They already have an audience that you could reach, right? If this product that you're offering is authentic to them, and they want to be a willing partner with you to really bring it forth, it's always a really great opportunity to reach that desired audience.
So you mentioned target audience, and we have a few questions about target audience. So if you're building your community, can you give us some specific steps on how you even begin to know who your audience is? Do you use certain metrics or analytics to get to know who your customer is, what they like, what makes their heart tick, etc.?
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of data, a lot of insights that's being provided by us from the big ones, right? From the Facebooks of the world and Instagram, and it's all owned by Facebook. So you have really deep, rich analytics and insights that you can see from all of from any of the social media platforms that you use, and also from the community platforms. So we use Mighty Networks. It's not the best as far as data. So at the end of the day, you can look at all that data, but nothing is going to inform you more than you doing the actual listening. Nothing. And especially as solopreneurs, I feel that we have that advantage, right? That we are doing so much of everything, right? So if we are the ones behind the Instagram account, then we are the ones that are listening. So actually, as an anecdote, in 2017, I almost had to close down the business. I almost had to file for bankruptcy. It was a very difficult year, but it was also the year that really helped us be who we are now. And at the moment that everything crashed down, and it was because we were moving away from influencer marketing because it became so transactional, and we understood we were more about the community. What happened in that moment, and many things, was that to rebuild, right, I had to fire the whole team, and it's a long story how magically we were able to survive. But that meant that I needed to keep the Instagram community alive. So I didn't have a social media manager anymore. So I got behind Instagram. And I will credit definitely that the moment that I was behind Instagram again, and I was creating the post, I was listening to the comments, I was responding to the comments and the DMs and everything, that I got a clear understanding of where we needed to go next. I understood what the community wanted to hear. So another important tool is survey. And now it doesn't have to be, a super rich 6-page survey. It can be polls that you send on Instagram stories, that you're very intentional about what it is that you want to hear from them. So you can create that data yourself as well. There's many listening tools, many are very expensive, but there's no better listening tool than yourself.
I couldn't agree more, Anna. And I think the key with listening is it's not a passive event, right? It's a real active experience. And for you to know exactly what your audience was asking for gives you so much power in building your business. Just layering on a bit for listening. So the way to collect information is to ask questions, right? Mm-hmm. And so we have Farah was asking, she said that her customers aren't really connecting with her on social media. She's not sure if she has the right crowd or audience. Is there anything specific that she should be posting, whether or not she's trying to figure out if this is the right audience or if she can reach a new audience? What should she be doing if she's not getting the right engagement right now?
What did she say what she's doing? Did I miss that?
She has a boutique. It's called the Farah Boutique. So I'm thinking a clothing, but.
So I'm looking for the question. I'm sorry, do you mind reading it again? I want to make sure that I'm answering correctly.
Sure. You know what? I think it disappeared. Let's see. So it disappeared, but I'm going to remember. So Farah owns a boutique. Mm-hmm. She is not, the customers she has right now on social media, they're not really engaging with her content. Mm-hmm. So she's asking if this means she doesn't have the right audience or if she's just not posting the right content.
I would need to see the content, to be honest. So, and I will guess that maybe a lot of the content is not her physically, but it's selling, right? So if an audience on Instagram wants to be inspired, they want to be informed, they want to engage, they also want, a lot of engagement, political right now and everything, but they want to feel something. So if they're looking at think of the action of people scrolling, what will make people stop? If the post feels automatically like a sale, like you're trying to sell me something, is it clothes on a hanger? I'm assuming it's not, but right, it just is an example because I can't see it. People will feel it's selling. They're gonna keep going. What is it that your store, how is it positioned uniquely, right? Again, going back to what is your purpose? That is what is going to make you different from the other fashion brand down the street. It is you. What do you bring? What was your motivation for building this store? What is your story behind it? How can you put that story up front so people can get inspired and they can engage with your content? And while they're engaged with your content, then they can also, they will feel the need to also learn more about you. And you'll get that click-through. Click-throughs are so hard to get. Right? You know what I mean? They're so hard to get. I mean, we can get a post with 10,000 likes and maybe it had 100 click-throughs, and that's not, it is really hard to get people to take action. And from then that action, then it's the buying. So the first thing is you need to make sure that that you are creating content that is meaningful to them. And to find what is meaningful to them, let's start by finding what is meaningful to you.
Mm-hmm. So Ladrea is saying that her posts on Instagram are not really being seen on Instagram. And I know Instagram changes their algorithm all the time, but if you want to go back to our prior webinars, we talk a bit more about the importance of the algorithm and frequency of posting. Do you have anything to add to that, Anna, as far as what happens if you're creating content, but it's not being seen due to an algorithm?
So frustrating. I mean, so many things can affect it, right? It's the use of hashtags, how many hashtags, the length of your captions. I mean, so many things. But what we know right now directly from Instagram is that Reels is where they're paying attention. Mm-hmm. So if you have the capability of creating cute Reels, and going back to the fashion brand as well, I would definitely navigate that and just start experimenting with Reels. If you're already on TikTok, then Reels isn't gonna, is gonna be a no-brainer. But they're actually not as hard, not that I've been doing them, but they're actually not as hard. And they're very entertaining, and Instagram is giving them a big push in the algorithm right now.
So Mary is asking if you have any specific ways that We All Grow has shared engaging content virtually during this time of pandemic. Any unique strategies or fun things that you've done that have really made a difference for We All Grow?
Oh, so much. So at the beginning of the pandemic, we thought we were going to have to close down. Again, we went through, I think, so many. We did receive the PPP loan and the SBA, and that really helped us because we were 80% of our revenue came from events, from in-person events. Thankfully, we had the Amigas community already going. When the pandemic started, we had 3,000 members. We had launched in October of last year. And from there to now, we now have 10,000 members. So we definitely had immediately started just creating content. We were like, if the spirit of We All Grow is still alive, if it's not just the event, how can we transform it and keep it alive, which was what we always used to do throughout the year via online events. If people come to us to be informed, to connect, to feel inspired, how can we do that? So, and what do people need right now? As you know, the Latina community has been hard hit by the pandemic. We are the essential workers, right? We at the large majority, we are creating small businesses at a 6 times higher rate than any other cohort, which means that we're also the ones being the most highly impacted, and small businesses being closed. So we knew that we needed to give support. So that translated, we created Holding Hands, which is a coach, an amazing coach called Wendy Amara, lifestyle coach for the last 15 years, who has been providing her services an hour every week. And we launched immediately, like as soon as we went into lockdown in late March, early April. Every Monday, you can still join the Holding Hands group coaching circle. And that has been incredible to see, just the growth and the change and the trauma and everything people can navigate through. So that's what we were helping from that sense. Then we started creating also office hours. So every Tuesday you can join my partners to just talk about, if you're a small business owner, to talk through, right? We need support, but we also asked our community early on, what do you need the most? And we thought it was going to be financial assistance, and it was actually exposure and amplification. So we have worked with the brands and the campaigns to make sure that we're creating campaigns that will bring that exposure, that amplification to community members, and also resources for them. So we're just really excited about those, and we keep hearing also that they love like the screening events that we've been doing, trying to recreate how we could have people together in a space, in an event, but make it feel still as we're still face to face. So we've been doing screening events for different studios and launch of movies and of series, etc., but doing it in a meeting form on Zoom, where people can all interact with each other and with the celebrities and the partners that are part of it. So always based on inspiring, engaging, and connecting.
And relevancy, right? To what's going on. So we have a number of natural introverts out there in our community that are asking it for tips on how to overcome the barrier of not being comfortable with putting themselves out there, whether it be as the founder or just as the business owner. What tips do you have for overcoming that?
Let me start by saying I hear you, I see you, I feel you, I am you. 100%. I don't have an about me page. Let's start with that, right? I've been doing this for over 10 years and I still don't have an about me page because it's not about me. And I've always been told that I need to put, and I'm the one that shows up my face and I do it, and people think it comes naturally to me, but it doesn't. Like this, it was hard for me to show up here today, to be honest. And I was just talking to my partner about it earlier. I was like, oh my God, why is it still so hard? And at the end of the day, it was because I needed to make sure that I was speaking from my own authentic space. And that's why for me, the why was so important, because that is how that's how I navigate everything I do. And from the beginning, I was honest and open with all of you and saying that I am not a traditional business leader. So, right, if that doesn't connect with you, then it's okay. It's okay. If that connects with you, then let's have a conversation. So I'm saying that because if it is hard for you to be out there, it might be because you're trying to be somebody that you're not. And you want to be yourself because it is exactly you who we need in the world. It is exactly you being who you are, your voice. And I want to say this especially to my fellow Latinas and to my fellow underrepresented women, everything that we know that our voice has been, always we're being asked to assimilate. We're being asked all the time to act as somebody that probably not bringing our full authentic selves to the table, but your full authentic self is exactly what the world needs right now.
This is a nice segue to our next question, which is, what is your one tip to show your community, either professionally or personally, that you are authentic and genuine? How do you do that?
What immediately comes to me is like, even the thinking that how to do it, then it doesn't become authentic. Because it is something so, it's something so personal, and it's even like this inward spiritual journey of finding what that voice is, of what it is that you want to say and how that resonates with the world. And again, you don't need to be the one that speaks to everyone. Mm-hmm. And we say this a lot, especially with social media engagement, like, and when we're talking to brands about influencers and what influencers mean, right? Because they're looking for the influencers that have 100,000 followers. And like, okay, does that matter? Or does 5 really engaged followers that you can convert really matter, right? So at the end of the day, you want to talk to those people that engage with you, that connect with you, that where you will be able to feel that authentic self actually manifesting itself, because you are engaging with other people that feel like you, right? That think like you. And it's not about creating just those silos, right? Because what the world needs right now too is that we are all open to understanding and hearing each other's stories. But we also need to be in spaces where we feel safe, where we feel seen, where we feel heard, and where can we be the ones creating those spaces for others?
Love it, Anna. And I'm a fellow introvert as well. So doesn't mean we don't want to hear your voice. Introverts matter, right? Yeah. So P is asking a very specific question. So she is trying to figure out from a language perspective if she should create a stronger community using one language or using English or Spanish. She's coming from Colombia. She has many customers that just speak Spanish. She's living in Miami, but she has customers that speak English as well. So she's trying to post in both languages, but she's not sure it's working. So do you have any tips specific for her business?
So the tip will be different if she's talking about posting in a blog, but I'm assuming she's talking about posting in social media. Yeah. So we have always made the conscious decision of posting in culture, we call it, right? So it really is in English, but we navigate between English and Spanish, and we throw in el español por aquí, por allá, right? Where it's really natural and it's not forced. It's how us Spanglish people talk. And that has worked for us. We don't do English, Spanish description on the same post. That doesn't mean it actually works for a lot of people. Spanish language actually has a much higher reach in general and most posts than English language does, because it is a huge, large population of the world that speaks Spanish. We're talking about the whole Southern America, Central America, Mexico, Spain. I mean, it's a huge population of the country that speaks Spanish. So it really depends on where the customers that you're trying to target are. If you're creating ads, then you can definitely be very specific about your Spanish language and your English language ads. You would need to separate those. But for your organic content, I would suggest that you go in between both. If you're creating quote cards, try to do a carousel where you do the English and you do the Spanish, and have people. And it's not about what they see on their feed, it's about what they're going to share. So if you give them the option of both, then if their audience speaks Spanish, then they'll choose to share the Spanish language one, right? And now shares and engagement, which is shares and saves are considered engagement are much more important and valuable than actual likes and comments. So you can definitely do that if you're creating like quotes or if you're creating anything that's more written. I want to take it a step further and also invite all of you to think about community that's not I am blanking on the word, like vision able, that that can't read your post. So the other way around, our deaf community that needs to have captions on the post. So there's a lot on the post on your video content. So if you're creating stories, if you're creating video content, make sure that you're always using captions, and there's a lot of free apps to do that. And if you're going live on Facebook, Facebook allows you to do caption live. So that's just something that I wanted to add as we're talking about language and all that, because that's something we've been made aware of more and more as we listen to our community, and we've been trying to adapt to that. And it's actually, and there's easy ways to do it now. Technology is amazing.
Technology is amazing. And for those in our community that would like to learn more about this, we had a professor from NYU, Regine, who spoke on designing a more inclusive world through user experience. And she taught us so much about, to your point, the captions on Facebook, on Google. So we all have different abilities, and we should be connected and aware of the diversity of abilities that exist. Anna, this has been terrific. You're a founder. You've launched a few different communities, different businesses. We have someone asking about your biggest unforeseen challenge as an entrepreneur and how you overcame that challenge. Any sage advice as we wrap up today?
Unforeseen, but already in the past. Oh my goodness, so many. So this year was a challenging year, and I have to say we're actually ending on a high note because we were able to pivot, and I will 100% in full gratitude say thank you, to the community that pivoted with us, right? That allowed us, that has continued staying with us and allowed us to pivot. Our biggest unforeseen challenge was definitely in 2017. I knew as an intuitive leader, I should have, I didn't follow my intuition back then, because 2 years before, I knew that we needed to pivot from influencer marketing because it was not feeding my soul anymore. We had a big company. We had made, our revenue was over $2 million the year before. This is a company that is completely self-funded by like $10 probably that in the beginning, right? It's a company that has never had investors, et cetera. So that was really big, and less than 1% of Latina-owned companies ever hit the $1 million mark. So we were on a high. And while you're at that high and you have 12 team members, to have your voice, your intuition tell you, you need to close down or you need to pivot from influencer marketing, when that is what was bringing in most of the revenue. But we knew that that was just not where our strength was, especially when it had become something that was led by algorithms and, big companies and big VC funded companies, et cetera. I didn't do it. So it did it for itself, right? Mm-hmm. And the companies, all the big brands that we worked with started bringing influencer marketing in-house. So they didn't really need us anymore, even though we had been working on, teaching them along the way for many years and how to reach the Latina community via influencers. So that was a big challenge because it was from one day to the next that the contract stopped coming in, from one day to the next. And it was really within like 2 months that I realized that that was going to have to close down, and we were completely in debt. And coming back from that, really, it was a lot of things that brought it back. But where I really want to make the point was that when I realized, the two women that later became my partners, both of them said, one was the CEO and the other one was the event director, Melissa and Roxana. They both said, we're going to stand by you and we're going to bring this company back up together. And within, nobody was charging anything. And within like 2 months, I knew that I needed to launch We All Grow Summit again. And for anybody that does events, massive events, that they're really difficult to produce and they take a lot of money up front to produce. And we didn't have that. So I, took the plunge and got the hotel that we did again. And I announced the conference and 10 months in advance with no speakers, no agenda, nothing. And we sold out within 10 hours.
Wow.
And it was our community trusting us that allowed us to continue. It was with that revenue that we were able to then do the next event and then the brand, campaign started coming back again, and we were able to repivot and know what we were going to offer, what type of campaigns we could offer, what type of work we could do that would give value to both our community and the brands, and then the sponsorships and all that. But if it wouldn't have been for our community, we would not be here right now.
Mm. What an incredible story of resilience. Thank you, Anna. We've learned so much from you today, and we're so grateful for your insights, your vulnerability, your best practices. This has been so valuable, so thank you. Our community is going to want to stay in touch with you. So how best can they do that?
Oh, I'd love that. So it's LA La Flowers. It's LA Flowers. Flowers is Flores in English. And at Grow Latina. But if you want to reach me directly, send me, again, if you want to, your purpose, your mantra, anything that you're sharing today, I'd love to repost, and we can definitely stay in touch.
Thank you, Anna. And we have a few people asking specifically for We All Grow. Is the community primarily for Latinas, or if you're not Latina, can you still join? How does that work?
You can definitely join. The content and the opportunities and everything are for Latina identifying women, and for women that love Latinas, and you want to be part of this. You're more than welcome, and we would love to have you. And more as we say, we are by Latinas for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. We can't wait to see your community continue to grow. And thanks everyone for joining us today for our last webinar of the year. It's